Of course, John Robinson was the name that silenced the Commons. It was a horrific story, a man who wasn't able to see a dying loved one. However, I'm not entirely convinced it's an entirely apt comparison to what took place in the 19th of June in the Cabinet Room of Downing Street. For those watching on television, not just listening on radio, we will be able to see on our screens now a graphic from the CPS, which was describing the change in regulations. And indeed, the regulations changed on the 13th of June, a week before that event in the Cabinet Room, saying that individuals may see another person they reasonably believe is dying. They could see that person in a setting of a hospital or a hospice or a home or indeed a care home. Those regulations had changed as part of lockdown easing. Yet, why didn't the Prime Minister mention that?
He probably wasn't aware of it. You know, the rules were constantly changing as the strength of the COVID pandemic ebbed and gained and flowed backwards and forwards, so the legislation had to react. And I know many people were confused by what was actually the legislation at the time. And of course, what was legislation in England was different in Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. And as I said, it was simply because... And people criticised it. I saw the press were criticising, why does the government keep chopping and changing with the rules? Why? Because it had to react quickly to the strength of the pandemic. And when it weakened, they made it looser, and when they strengthened... But, you know, I just find the whole thing extraordinary when, as I said, civil servants themselves were attending many of these events in Downing Street and elsewhere, thinking that they weren't breaking the rules. And, you know, 2 years ago, and I think you tweeted about it, Tom, 2 years ago, The Times published an article mentioning the fact that a birthday cake had appeared in the Cabinet Room. Nobody raised the hue and cry then. It's all happened now. And, you know, the saddest thing of all, I think, is the way that Keir Starmer and other politicians have chosen to weaponise the personal tragedies endured by people like John Robinson. And, you know, I would have thought actually that was pretty beneath him.